And welcome back to Houston Newsmakers, where we've been talking about election issues, and one of them is in Harris County. It's about Proposition 1 affecting HISD. It's a big deal and maybe a bit confusing. Here's KPRC's Brandon Walker to sort it out.
Opponents of Proposition 1 gathered today with signs in tow urging voters to vote no.
This becomes a bucket to supplant education dollars, not to supplement.
Zeph Capo is president of the Houston Federation of Teachers. The union is against the ballot question. As written, Proposition 1 asks voters to authorize the Board of Trustees of Houston Independent School District to purchase attendance credits from the state with local tax revenues. What that means, though, is a question of whether HISD should send money to Austin per state law, according to what's called state recapture. And recapture is already on the books. It requires school districts deemed property tax rich to send money to the state. That money, in turn, is supposed to be used to help school districts that don't rake in top dollars from property taxes, sort of like a Robin Hood tax, keeping the educational playing field even. HISD is now considered a property-rich district, so it's required to pay $162 million in property tax money next year to the recapture pot. And over the next 4 years,
it's about taking away $1 billion from our schools.
Opponents to Prop 1, including Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, say the ballot question is misleading. Also,
removing dollars from our local classrooms and community and being sent elsewhere.
Well, it's a complicated topic.
Ben Becker represents a group called HISD Parent Advocates, which is urging voters to say yes.
Vote yes because it saves Houston ISD $231 million over the course of 4 years.
Becker says voting no would cost HISD more down the line, the state taking valuable property from the district to make up for lost revenue. And he says the billion-dollar price tag associated with keeping recapture would not result in cuts opponents have stressed.
We did 80% of the cuts necessary to pay for recapture this year. Those deficits decrease next year and go away.
Both sides agree that it's time to have a conversation about how our schools are funded, but any change would require legislative action, and that's the hiccup here. Those in opposition to Proposition 1 say a no vote would force the state's hand, but those who are voting yes say that that's not the right approach. They say laws are meant to be followed. I'm Brandon Walker, KPRC Channel 2 News.
There's a lot in that whole thing, and so when you go in and you voted already, and you said you voted for, against it,
yeah.
And so the rationale. This is really one of those things where it's not the emotion of the Trump-Clinton campaign. This is just what you believe. It's kind of an issue.
Well, it has a lot of people thinking with their heads and some others with their hearts. Now, our public school financing system is broken. The Texas Supreme Court has said so much during the past year. This, though, a no vote is really a vote of anger that is against the broken system, and it's based with the goal, the hope that somehow this will spur the legislature into action to fix the system. I don't think that's so likely. If a yes vote would, a no vote would do is it would result in essentially income being taken or property being taken out of Harris County and given to, or in the taxes from that given to poorer districts or districts that are less wealthy. And as a result, everyone in the HISD zone would pay higher taxes in the future to make up for bond payments. So what it really means is no increase in money for HISD students and higher taxes.
Right. This is the big issue for the city of Houston, because you as a council, you as a city have really taken an aggressive stance pro-education. So everything that happens in HISD is important to you.
Absolutely. And let me, as a native Houstonian product of HISD, let me just break this down very simple. When we come and ask voters to pass a bond election, it's because HISD is in a financial crisis, a financial stronghold. We cannot afford to send the state $160 million to distribute around the state of Texas. I understand there are other schools, they can tax in their areas, in their counties. We need to continue to raise money and bring in private foundation money, like the Kinder Institute brought in, I think, $7 million into HISD. Continue to do those kind of things to help supplement the school system. We can't afford this.
Now, we have another vote to focus on as well, and is whether or not the Heights will be able to sell beer and wine for off-premise consumption. In simple terms, it'll be a vote to keep the community dry or wet. And as you would expect, the differences of opinion are clear.
It's a pretty archaic law, and it has restricted economic development in the Heights for over 100 years.
It has nothing really to do with the practical part of keeping bars out of the Heights anymore. It's more about just being a part of what was important.
Do we know, is there any kind of polling data on this at all? What's the deal on this issue?
Well, I think this has two sides. One is H-E-B, which wants to build a grocery store inside the zone and wants to be able to sell beer and wine there, and says that they can't build the store if they don't get the license to or the ability to sell beer and wine, and everybody that wants H-E-B there, versus some people who don't want to see the neighborhood change so much, and they're advocating a no vote.
Are you pro this? I mean, it's not your area.
I'm pro H-E-B in District D.
Okay.
You know, Carla Cisneros is a wonderful council member, and I'm sure she would do and support what's best for her.
And you are going to get one at District D, are you?
We're working hard on it. Okay. I have a great team working with it.
Because they have food deserts all around,
Absolutely.
and that, of course, is a negative thing, which will be topic for another show. Yeah. Hey, this team is going to be here on Tuesday, joined by former Harris County Republican Chair Gary Pollan, our legal expert Brian Weiss, and others to give you the best comprehensive election coverage you'll be able to find from our full team as well of reporters who'll be with both presidential candidates and the important local races as well. We'll also have the League of Women Voters here manning the phones to answer your questions from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. So a lot of ways to find out what's going on by keeping it here on Channel 2. And of course, we all will be here streaming live our thoughts and comments as the results come in as they happen on click2houston.com from 6 p.m. until 9:45. Dwight Borkins has insisted that we feed him dinner throughout that process. I'm not sure. Mark doesn't really care about that. And so your sign.
Go vote. Please, please, please.
Yeah. So we want to make Channel 2 your destination on Election Day, on air and online. Dr. Jones, Council Member Borkins, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Tuesday night.
Thanks.
Good deal. Hey, just ahead, the president of MD Anderson Cancer Center to talk about the upcoming 75th anniversary of that great institution, Dr. Ronald DePino, on making cancer history. That's next when Houston Newsmakers continues.